Hey guys, and welcome back for the finale of Doom 2016. We've made you wait a while for this one, and I apologise for that, but let's just say the wait has been worth it. This is one hell of a way to cap off one hell of a game.
Oh yeah, this is a feast for the eyes, this, both in terms of actual gameplay and in terms of graphically. I mean, it is a very, very nice looking. They have a lot of great set pieces here, and it's just crawling to the brim with arenas and things to kill, and that's the main draw, let's face it.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, it has a very strong end game, does Doom 2016. What the fuck is this?
I don't know, I thought it was like a demon egg or something, so I thought, oh, can I shoot it? No? Okay, moving on.
Oh, Jesus. So, how many takes did it get you to get a good run of this, mate? Or better question, how many times did it take you to complete it the first time around?
First time around, it took me a good 40 minutes, only because this area was so damn big, and I was kind of in the mode of trying to find whatever I could, so I took my time with this one the first time going around. This time around, didn't take me too long, a little bit less than half an hour, but then again, this was kind of knowing what I was doing, having infinite ammo as long as I have enough armor to supplement it. It adds up, so I got it done a little bit quicker this time around. Chalk it up to experience.
I mean, at this point, there's no other enemy types they can throw in apart from the final boss, so you know how the summoners work, you know how the Barons of Hell, the Hell Knights, the Mancubi work, what are the things with the skulls and the jetpacks, mate? The Toot guys.
Those are the Revenants.
There you go, the Revenants. Good old Doot. We left it until the final part to mention the meme.
Oh, yes. Actually, if you go onto YouTube and you look up the soundtrack for this, one of the ones with the most views happens to be like this giant panoramic view of Doom Guy killing a whole bunch of things, and in there is a Revenant with a trumpet. It's so subtle, but it was great. It's just like, they know, they know.
There's a level of comedy throughout this game that's very subtle, but I appreciate it. It kind of separates it from other more serious FPSs, because even back in the day, like, I don't know whether I got this wrong or not, but wasn't, like, the storyline for the first Doom, like, right at the end it's revealed he's avenging his pet bunny or something?
Yeah, because at the end of Doom 1, you get, like, this cinematic of you being back on Earth, and, like, literally they go around the point saying, Hell has taken over Earth, and it pans over to this bunny on, like, a skewer, and it's just like, I'm not sure if it's meant to be his pet bunny or if it was just something they threw in there just for the shock and awe factor, but I don't know, it wouldn't surprise me if it was his pet or if they kind of played around with the idea for a while and scrapped it for being too silly.
I don't know, it just made me laugh because I was on a V thread for Doom and they were like, some of them thought, and I don't want to generalise it, obviously I can't tell who's who, it's an anonymous forum, but do you think the mods made the game too easy, like Siege mode, etc.?
I don't know, to be honest with you. It certainly makes the game a bit more interesting, but then again, Siege mode, even when you get all of the upgrades for it, it still has some inherent flaws. But I think the main overpowered thing about this game is when you actually start really getting into weapon switching. Like, I actually linked a video to Tom, and I can probably talk about it a little bit here, where I was watching a guy playing through Doom on Nightmare mode, and literally his modus operandum for killing any of the big things in the game was to literally stun them with the plasma rifle, single rocket, triple rockets, switch to the siege mode on the rifle thing, shoot that, double-barreled shotgun, and that basically takes out everything within a matter of seconds.
Wow.
And if you get used to that kind of weapon sequencing, everything in the game just melts. But of course, that requires a little bit of fingering finesse, I guess, for lack of a better description term.
Wow. Jesus, did you have to phrase it that way? Well, we're in hell, you can say naughty things, I suppose.
Well, yeah, exactly. You know, it's part of the program, dude.
Fun fact, this is what a recording session looks like about 5 retakes in.
Thankfully, I don't think we've ever gotten to that point between you and me personally. We've come close, but we've never actually gotten there. Usually we've got there in like 2 or 3 at worst, but even then, that's a rarity nowadays.
Alright, I'm going to read a bit of Argent Dinor's like in-game description and whatnot. Argent Denor. While some intelligence has been directly retrieved from Argent Denor, most of the details we have regarding this location have been extrapolated from decoded tablets and scriptures. Limited data from the remote collection and information decryption of the Korax tablets suggests that this area is the corrupted ruins of a lost realm, a world that has been entirely conquered and absorbed into the Hell dimension. The battle that was fought to claim this area was of vast significance, as the spread of Hell's dominion accelerated quickly upon the absorption of the region. The Hell energy that emanates from this region passes through a dimensional tear and appears on Mars at the Argent Fracture.
Now, be honest with me here, how many times did you want to say Argent Dinner?
At least once, I'm not gonna lie.
I knew it. It's just so easy to think, it's just like dinner. It's just so similar, especially if you're like me and you just watch too many YouTube poops in your day and you just watch all the Zelda ones, you're just like, I wonder what's for dinner.
So we're making our way here to one of the wraiths, and once we actually get to them and use the crucible to suck up some of the energy, delicious Argent energy, I'll explain a bit more about them.
Basically, this area is split into 3 incredibly large arenas. It's not like in the Vega Central Processing, where it's all a little bit more compact. These areas are huge, and they fill it up with as many enemies as they possibly can. But thankfully, since it's a little bit more open plan, it's a little bit easier to maneuver yourself around, and you can get some really meaty BFG shots off as a result. So I suppose it's kind of a blessing in disguise, that, but we've got to get this mega health here.
Who are you? Who is that?
I get the feeling that might well be sort of like the dormant icon of sin, potentially. It's a little up in the air as to who that actually is. Maybe it's like Samuel Hayden putting on a gruff voice or something and speaking into a microphone. And this is all just a simulation.
No, they have their own version of like a cyborg, but it's just made out of meat and bones and whatnot. He's just sitting at a desk somewhere, recording audio files for us to find. He was so powerful, I had to change my pants 3 times that day.
It's just like, no, he didn't. You're like, shut up. We're trying to attract more tourism.
If we sell this well enough, Guillermo del Toro will adapt it. This part handed me my ass multiple times over, more than any other set piece in the level, I have to say.
Really? This one, I think it's the one after this, when I was playing through it the first time, that actually handed me my ass quite a bit. This one, it wasn't too bad overall. The only thing that threw me off a little bit was there are a lot of there's a lot of underground layers to this one that you don't expect, and they like to hide a lot of enemies in there, particularly the little guys. So finding them all was a little bit tricky, which is the reason why I think I end up firing like a couple of BFG shots just like out in the distance, because I usually try and go off the idea if there's something I can't see but I know there's more enemies around, sometimes I'll just fire off a BFG shot and aim to get as much mileage out of it as possible. Yeah. And then let all the lightning bolts just pick off all the little guys and anything else that might happen to be in the way.
Oh, Pinky, why do you even try at this point? Volk, you have become the Doomslayer at this point. I can see why the hordes of hell fear this guy.
Great, it only took 13 parts.
Well, I mean, if you were that at the start, it wouldn't have been as exciting.
Yeah, true that. I mean, they had to start you off with a pistol to make it fair, I suppose. But even then, they give you the shotgun within 5 minutes. I kind of wanted to glory kill that guy, but he wasn't having any of it.
Be honest, were you still using the pistol at this point in the game? Because I think past, like, level 7, I had just forgotten about it altogether.
I actually forgot about it, like, probably in part 3, when you start getting, like, somewhat halfway through your complete arsenal. Although that's not to say the pistol is entirely useless. That being said, using the pistol in some occasions can be a great way to secure glory kills without overdoing it. But at that point, I got more acclimatized to killing things from a distance, so I didn't really feel the need to do it, but during like the early and mid points in the game, the pistol does still have its uses, and I imagine if you're playing on the higher difficulties, making sure to secure those glory kills to get the extra bits of health and what have you is probably more important than it is on, say, normal difficulty or slightly harder than normal difficulty. I don't know what the exact names for it are, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Here's a notion that'll blow your mind. Imagine Doom, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine Doom with a sniper rifle.
Well, to be fair, the first weapon mod of the Gauss cannon is probably the closest thing to a sniper rifle you're going to get.
Well, I'm just saying 'cause it's like a slow weapon for a slow-paced player to pick off enemies, and that's not what Doom is all about. It's all carnage and balls-to-the-walls action.
Yeah, but they at least sort of give you the option if you wanted to. But then they also throw siege mode in the same weapon, and you're just like, you can't just do that. I'm gonna just take siege mode. What the hell are you doing?
Alright, here we go. You ready for a bit of lore, Volk?
Oh, I'm ready for a bit of lore. Go for it.
Alright, first we're going to talk about the Wraiths. The Wraiths are elemental beings originally from the Argent Dinor dimension until it was absorbed by Hell. They were deified and feared by the original people of the Argent Dinor and protected by the finest warrior order of the dimension, the Night Sentinels, more in a minute, as a means to harness their tremendous power as an energy source and defensive measure against Hell. During the war, they gave the Sentinels necessary power to defend the realm from Hell's legions. However, a Hell priest by the name Diagrav and his cabal used the Wraith's essence against Argent Dinor with the help of a traitorous Night Sentinel by forming the Well, which enables Hell's forces to gain an upper hand and finally claim victory against the realm. After Argent Dinor was absorbed into Hell, their souls were trapped in the Hell energy sphere until the Doomslayer uses the Crucible to free them.
Ooh, interesting. I guess that kind of plays onto this whole idea that there may have been like a human civilization or something similar, you know, beforehand, and it was just assimilated into Hell's vast dimensional ass, as it were.
Yeah, for sure. And I may just be reading off the wiki, but it is important we discuss this, because back in Samuel Hayden's office, I think I might have asked you, because there were statues of guys in armor, and I was like, are they the original Doom guys? Obviously not. Those were statues of Night Sentinels. And the Night Sentinels were a holy order, or an order of holy knights that protected the sea of Argent Dinor, and once stood against the armies of Hell, etc. These guardians were imbued with Wraith energy and proved fierce opponents of Hell's legions, and according to the Ungmar Codex, almost triumphed over Hell, but were betrayed by a member of their order. The unnamed betrayer struck a bargain with a lonely priest, as we discussed, for the return of his son who had been lost in battle, and he led the priest and his cabal to the source of the Night Sentinel's power, the elemental Wraiths. Deagruv cursed the Wraiths while they slept, and the Hell Priest stole their energy for their own devices. Argent Dinor was defeated, and their realm was absorbed into Hell, along with the Argent energy that led to the creation of the Well. Giant statues of the Sentinels can be seen in Argent Dinor, while two smaller statues, labelled Ancient Sentinel, can be found in Samuel Hayden's office, either side of a statue of the Praetor suit. Now, there's a bunch of theories for this, as I'm going to read off here. The Sentinels are somehow connected to the Doomslayer, as their souls often act as his guide during his journey through Hell. While little is known for certain about Sentinels, some have speculated that, and you can comment on these after I say each one, Volk. Maybe the Doomslayer was originally a member, or perhaps leader of the Order, and is now the last of their kind.
That is pretty plausible.
Others have suggested that they guide the Doomslayer out of either respect for releasing the Wraith's souls, or out of having a mutual enemy in Hell's legions.
I'd say that was probably more plausible, just because once you actually acquire the Crucible from stage 12, there's a whole bunch of them sort of like standing in the row, and they kind of give you the whole salute thing. So maybe there is some respect going on there, or maybe like helping out the lesser of two evils going on. So yeah, I'd say between the two you've said so far, that one's probably the most likely.
Finally, stone tablets and other artifacts in-game commonly depict the Doomslayer and Night Sentinels fighting together, indicating that they have met before. The Doomslayer's armor is very different, however, and he may have simply aided them in fending off the demon hordes. Either way, the souls of the Night Sentinels appear to the Doomslayer at various points throughout Hell to point the way or to stand in solidarity with him.
Yeah, I'd say with all of them, I'd say 2 or 3. Probably more 3 than 2, but I do like 2 as well. And I like the idea that maybe the Doom guy at one point was a member of the Sentinels, and like maybe being the last of his kind is probably a good motivation for just going around killing everything that moves.
This is actually a pretty fun, sorry to change tack at the speed of light here, but we're done with lore now, it's all about carnage. This is a pretty fun set piece. I think I only died here once, and that was because I got lazy with like checking my flank and whatnot.
Oh yeah, especially with the amount of corners and what have you, if you sort of venture into the lower areas. It is very easy to just have a guy go, hello, and just shoot a rocket or a ball of plasma or just take a bite out of you. So if I had one piece of advice to give to people playing this on maybe a higher difficulty, or maybe trying out the game for themselves, stick to the edges or just stay on the high ground. That seems to be the best way to go about it. The BFG is there for a reason, use it. It is great for taking care of enemies all across the astral plane. And yeah, that's pretty much the best piece of advice I can give, almost in general, but there are some times where taking the high ground doesn't necessarily help you as much as you'd be led to believe.
Nope, not making that reference. We can't make me.
Oh, you know you wanna.
Ah, well.
Well, I just have to put up and shut up.
Well, we're at the end of the game now, mate. How many more times can we rephrase shoot well, don't die in a single FPS playthrough?
Well, when the entire premise of the game is shooting, I think it's somewhat appropriate.
I suppose so, yeah.
Also, one interesting thing to note is in one of the logs that you find about this here level, you actually get to hear a farewell message from Olivia Pierce.
Ooh, yeah, I've got it here. Can I read it?
Alright, you know what? I've read most of these ones out, so you know what? I'll let you have this one.
A farewell. Some of you in a previous life may have held the childish notion of God and the kingdom of heaven. This ugly representation of a spiritual nirvana was designed to control you, to placate your natural feelings of hatred and rage, to subdue your realization of your place in this universe. By embracing science, you took the first steps towards freedom from this intellectual chain. By dedicating yourself to the development of Argent energy, you cemented your place in the next age. Now let me tell you about the real heaven. The real kingdom of the gods is a place that you will never reach, and you should never wish to. No human will ever visit the sacred ground of Argent Dinor, unless they are made a god by the Dark Lords. Humanity's only purpose and reward is to serve the ascension of the Imperatrix and protect the Crucible. You will be destroyed by the demons, while I will be made a god. My immortality is assured, while you will writhe in perpetual agony at the bottom of the darkest hole in hell. You will be forgotten. Your life, your loved ones, your achievements and failures are nothing. A blank on the canvas of time. Thank you for your service. May you rot in hell. Olivia Pierce.
I love the fact that he's immediately calmed it down towards that last bit. It made it very believable. Although I'd like to think Olivia Pierce would have been a lot more cold and calculated in that, but I liked the additional drama you got in there, so I think maybe you went out on that one.
Well, that's 10 years of dramatic readings for you, I suppose, mate. Okay, the very last set piece here, because it's a rather short level, honestly, all things considered. It's just hard. That's how they beefed up the length, really.
Yeah, the length is mostly in the amount of enemies you kill in these arenas more than the actual size of the level itself. Although, don't get me wrong, it is pretty big, but you don't really get that many distractions leading you from point A to point B. Like, they may get a few enemies, like, looking to take a nibble out of your giblets or something, but apart from that, you're really pretty much free-running it from one area to the other, taking place in these supremely huge arenas and just killing so many things that you could probably kill enough things here to equate to maybe the last 12 levels combined. Alright, that's probably an exaggeration, but that's what it feels like.
Huh.
I like the fact they go with different music for each arenas as well. One thing they have done previously is that in some of the levels, they usually tend to stick with like the same backing track. But with this one, they kind of combine all of the tracks that you've heard throughout your time in Hell, and so they dedicate one to each arena fight, and that's pretty damn neat.
Been using the rocket launcher's secondary ability a lot towards the end of the game, and it works great on the final boss, I gotta say.
Oh yeah, well, having it home as well just gives you a lot more time to dodge around, and the fact it's 3 goddamn rockets as well, it is a lot of power to boot. I never really got the chance to mess around very much with the remote detonator, although maybe when I replay through this game to try out like the Nightmare difficulty and what have you, maybe I'll give it a whirl, because there's a lot of mods in this game that I've perhaps neglected just because it seemed like the other ones were just that much better. But, you know, maybe that's just for a reason, or maybe there's something hiding in the background that I hadn't quite accounted for.
One thing I should point out, you know when we first encountered Olivia Pierce and she was behind that bulletproof glass?
Yeah.
She had a little bit of a spiel, but the one sentence I keyed in on was, you could not have saved them anyway. Now, I'm not sure who they is, maybe the members of the UAC, the Innocents, or maybe the Night Sentinels who were trapped in Hell. I don't know. It's interesting to think about either way, though.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point on that, actually. Maybe it was alluding to something. Maybe Olivia Pierce knew a little bit more than she was letting on.
Well, I mean, she had direct communication with Hell, so she must have known about the Crucible and all this stuff.
Yeah, I would imagine so, or maybe the demons try to keep her as out the loop as they could get away with. So maybe that's what allowed Hayden to have the advantage of sort of like knowing where the Doom guy was and waking him up, etc., and sort of like figuring out the best way to deal with a disaster in his own plans, where Olivia Pierce has clearly got her own agenda trying to, you know, ascend into godhood.
Oh yeah. It's fitting that the last enemy in the game, well, regular-wise, was a Doot.
It's just like, hey, you want to check out my new trumpet? Oh, damn it.
Hey, Bot, want to check out my new Praetor suit with BFG? Ah!
Sorry. Let me do you a tune before bed.
I could have gone with, like, the chainsaw and it still would have worked.
Yeah. It's like, hey, Olivia Pierce, you see my new chainsaw?
Alright. The last Night Sentinel can rest easy. Stop fucking about with Hell in future. But consider this a get out of hell free card.
I do like the look of the Crucible, and you'll see it in its full glory pretty damn soon, but there is more to it than meets the eye.
I heard a little bit of dialogue in the background there. We were talking over it, but it sounded like Olivia Pierce, weirdly enough.
Yeah, I did notice that too. I guess that's kind of alluding to the fact that you will finally have your confrontation with her, so to speak. And here we go. All of the guards are there, waiting for you, just like, yep, she's down here, mate. Give her hell.
Oh yeah, don't you worry. I've come to hell for that exact reason. Oh, that looks friendly.
That looks absolutely fine. Absolutely nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
They promised me so much.
Well, life's a bitch and then you're a spider.
Actually, now that we can finally bring that up, the one thing I was mildly upset by is maybe they could have like had a section where they had like spider bots just before this part, just to kind of lead up to the fact that you're fighting the spider bot Mastermind. Because that's like the only enemy from the original Doom that didn't actually make it into the game. Because even the Spider Mastermind made it in, but none of the like miniature spider bots actually made it in.
God, just look at that fucker. Olivia Pierce turned into that?
I'm not entirely sure if it was Olivia Pierce that turned into that, or if Olivia Pierce was just a sacrifice to awaken it. I mean, I'd like to think that it's Olivia Pierce in some sadistic way, but I don't know. The way that the sacrifice happened, like, I think they could have maybe made it more obvious if maybe they, like, showed her, like, transforming into it. But I don't know. The way that she kind of, like, melts into the floor and then emerges as the, Spider Mastermind probably makes a lot more sense in terms of pacing.
Yeah, well, before we get into the wherewithal or whatever and how to defeat it, here is the UAC report file FVS1EC3F for the Spider Mastermind. The first Project Lazarus tethering operation retrieved a small compendium from the umbral plains in the crypt of a destroyed tower of unknown construction. This Vard Mecham was mostly ineligible, but it did contain one of the rare references to the Arania Imperatrix, a mystical demon that is still largely unknown. When the gate is opened, in the Fourth Age, as in Doom 4, Doom 2016, when we have risen and the Masters have shown us the path, she will come. A great blessing will be given to the keyholder, for they will become one with the Master, and in that holy union, the power of the Dark Priest will be unleashed upon the heretics of the penumbral plane, the Arena Imperatrix, carried in the mind of all who follow, fed from the blood of those who fell, made with bone of rock, iron, steel and sinew, a mighty god to rule over all other gods. One become two, become legion.
That is pretty damn nice, and I guess that probably means that maybe the Imperatrix and Olivia Pierce merged to become this thing?
Maybe. Very maybe. But as you can see, shoot its face until it dies, get on top of the columns when it's unleashing its electro attack, and I gotta say, you made this fight look easy. It took me about 7 or 8 tries to kill the fucker.
See, it's pretty hard the first time through. Oh, I absolutely love this fight for this reason that you're probably seeing now. I love the fact as you deal more damage to her, her movements become so much more forced and laboured. And you can see that she's still desperately trying to just annihilate you with everything within her power.
Yeah.
But she's just so damaged at this point that she's just kind of flicking around, like, her movements are just a lot slower, or she, like, literally at this point can't stand up. So she's just kind of shooting lasers and what have you, just in a massive spread, in a bid to try and take you down. That is such an awesome way to sort of like finish off this boss. And I would have loved to have seen something similar done with the Cyber Demon, but I guess going from Cyber Demon to this makes a bit more sense because it just made it feel so much more impactful. I love this fight.
I will say the Hell Guard is the odd one out in terms of like cool bosses. Love the Cyber Demon. This one's great, but Hell Guard not so much. But the finisher to cap off this game, Olivia Pierce. We'll call this the Hubris Blast. BFG fire!
I was gonna go for something like, alright bitch, it's time for your daily dose of vitamin BFG.
Oh, that's way cooler.
I had it ready and everything, but you jumped in way sooner.
Well, you snooze, you lose, I'm afraid. But gladly they brought us back, and I guess we won't be having to deal with hell for a while. So, mate, Doom 2016, in short terms, please.
It is absolutely incredible. Probably absolutely my favorite game of 2016, absolutely. And the graphics, the gameplay, the fact that the story isn't given to you, but there seems to be a lot hidden in the background. Like, everything about this game is done so immaculately. I would be far to say that to call this a perfect game, but this comes very damn close.
For sure. Yeah, the campaign is fantastic. Gameplay, it's a cliche word, but visceral. And frustrating at times just because I'm not of the FPS persuasion, but once you get past that, with all the mods and, like, you know, the codex to get additional lore and whatnot, it's just really enthralling, and I'm, like, sorely waiting for a sequel to the game. And yeah, we've been kind of dicked over here, but whatever, I guess the sequel will follow up on that, I suppose, because we're not done with Samuel Hayden just yet. And I've really enjoyed this playthrough. We're sorry it took so long, but we hope you have enjoyed the ride. I definitely have. Thank you for introducing me to this game, Volk.
Oh, it's not a problem. The more chance I have to introduce people to this game, the better.
If you guys have any suggestions for FPS games we could cover on the channel, The Crucible is a fucking sword. Amazing.
Oh, it's so good!
Leave suggestions down below, because we're done now, guys. And remember to rip and tear until it is done. Goodbye for now.
See you next time.